Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management. Amy Bremer is a wealth manager at Annex Wealth Management. You know, we've covered some interesting topics, my friend, but today's a little bit touchy, maybe. It's helping support adult children. Are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to start with some stats about empty nesters. 40% are helping support adult kids. The average monthly expenditure, $254. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and that's just the average. Some people are spending a lot more. You know, there's this idea that once the kids are out of the house, that your empty nesters are off the payroll, but that's not necessarily the case anymore. According to our source data, the top expenses that parents help with are first cell phone, then rent, then groceries, and lastly, student loan debt is the fourth on that list. We're also finding that millennials are living with their parents longer to help save money. One, rents have just skyrocketed.
Rent's insane.
And it's really difficult for these younger generations to get on the ownership ladder when buying a home. A separate study also found that 58% of adults could not afford their current lifestyle without their parental help. It's shocking. It's over half.
Well, it depends on what kind of lifestyle they want.
Touche, but
I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the boomer in me. And here's where we get into the uncomfortable spot. And this is how to stop financially supporting adult children. Number one, is it important?
It is important, but it's also really difficult because this support is coming from a place of love. No parent doesn't love their children enough to throw them a 20 here or there. But problem is you're building these bad habits for the children that they become dependent on this money, and maybe that lifestyle creep does creep in. More importantly, from my perspective, from my career in my chosen profession as a certified financial planner, is how is that money outflow to your children affecting your retirement? Is your financial house in order first? Is your retirement fully funded? Do you have any student loan debts or car payments that you need to take care of first?
See, Amy is not a big meanie. There is that meat and potatoes reason. You are affecting your own retirement. What about loans to adult children? Is it okay if there's at least enforceable terms in place? We did it with one of our sons, right? He got out of college, wanted to go to a tech school. He's going to be a police officer. Needed that. We figured out a way to do that. And as soon as he started earning, and he started earning right away, we had a repayment plan.
I'm glad it worked for you because a lot of folks, it doesn't. The challenge that I have with that is it enforceable? And you could always sign a promissory note, even if it's on a Word document, I promise to pay mom and dad back, yada, 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 love kid. It's not enforceable really because it's kind of a handshake agreement. So, and then the other topic is, do you charge interest? If you don't charge interest, and if the IRS finds out, they're going to go back and charge this thing called imputed interest, which is the implied interest that you should have charged. But if you do and they find it, you could be in big trouble.
Adult children sometimes move in with parents. You mentioned that, hopefully temporarily. Should there be a rent agreement in place? And I'll see this with some of my friends. Their kids are living at home. And I ask, are they paying rent? Because I think the average person who lives in the house is running up expenses. I mean, there's food, there's utilities, there's all sorts of things.
Yeah, a rental agreement is a good idea. There was this story in the news a few months back about this guy who was 40 some odd years old that had to get evicted from his parents' house. They literally took him to court because he would not leave. So it's always good to have a temporary place to land if something bad happens, like maybe they're in between leases or they're trying to move out of state. But it's always good to have something formalized, an end date, so that way mom and dad know when it's ending and then the kid knows what the expectations are for the future.
You mentioned cell phones earlier. I've got a Venmo account, and for some reason, people share or what they're spending money on or what they're getting money for.
Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, but I see it all the time. It's going to be like, cell phone. And maybe it's the family plan and they're paying them back, but it's things like that.
Yeah, in fact, at the Bremer House, we have that exact same situation we have a family plan with my father-in-law and my stepson, and we get payments from Jake, my stepson. Dad is a little bit harder to collect money from, but you just do for your folks. But it's less expensive for both of them if we collaborate and put all of our plans on one family plan, and then we just have to pay collector.
But I think the biggest thing is that if you're laying out this money each month, and it's significant money, you are affecting your own retirement plan. And that would really get our attention as financial planners.
Yes. And in my practice with Annex as a certified financial planner, there are some families that I work with where they spend too much money on their children. And we've addressed that. But it's really hard to cut that cord. Again, this help comes from a place of love. You don't want your children to fail, but you also don't want to pull that rug out from underneath them so quickly that they have a big catastrophic fall. It's an issue that we need to identify and course correct for a successful retirement for mom and dad.
It's hard, but Amy has outlined the case to at least consider taking some necessary steps. Amy Bremer, Wealth Manager, CFP, Annex Wealth Management. Good stuff. Thanks for joining us.
Always my pleasure, Danny.